With the announcements of a Fallout TV series and all the awards Starfield won at this year's Game Awards, I wanted to get into the mind of the man himself. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Bethesda, and have enjoyed bullying the NPCs in their games for quite some time now.
Oh no!
But there's something I haven't really wrapped my head around, and that's how to become a creative genius. A creative genius who is responsible for the creation of entire universes. Well, not really, but you know, he did flesh them out. In a world where we're so often told that do thing is hard, and that spacemen went to the moon IRL, and they certainly weren't bored, I will now walk in the footsteps of the creative masterminds behind the studio themselves, by creating my own studio. And by my own studio, I mean, of course, my own settlement in Fallout 4.
What do you think, hon? Roguishly handsome or handsomely roguish?
Where I'll be employing various unique and not so unique settlers for free and sorting them into this new utopia based on merit alone. I've come up with this new innovative sorting apparatus called a tier system, where the higher in the tiers you fall, the least amount of pain you're likely to suffer at any given moment in time. My chosen champion for this endeavor is going to be our buddy Norbin Borbin McNobby, a man.
Oh God!
An engineer built to build and judged to judge the people of the Commonwealth. Now, I've built some settlements in the past, so trust me, I've got a good track record with these things. I really take the security of my people seriously, so I've built this massive perimeter wall. Ugh. It's like I always say, you can't spell security without S, but you know what else starts with S? Shit. So I made this really shit perimeter wall. A massively elaborate incarceration facility, an elevated zone where only Sanctuary's most effluent people will be allowed to go. A tier and S tier only, where they will blot out the sun for the people below, who will live in the filth, in the dirt. Not because I've designed it this way, obviously, but because this is how they live and it's all their own fault. A lot of people ask me, best guest, why are some of these spiked barriers pointing inwards? Well, that's a good question. What are you, a reporter or something? And speaking of reporters, starting off close to home, we have Piper. Sure, more of a companion than a settler, but seeing as she's the least unirritating companion, we'll be leaving her to rot at a camp, hoping to never interact with her again. Known mostly for the noise, she can be seen outside of Diamond City where, in a relatable and very human manner, they have fabricated a full citywide blockade because they cannot tolerate her presence any longer. It's at this point in the story that she first opens her mouth, and it isn't any coincidence that a staggering 21% of players decide that they no longer care about the sun at all and drop the main story quest entirely, assuming they hadn't forgotten why they traveled here in the first place. Anyways, to progress the quest, you famously violently assault her in the streets to no consequence whatsoever, ending dialogue instantly and causing the guards to open the door. What did Todd mean by this? I feel like I'm taking a lot away from her character though, so I'm going to list some of her good qualities. She's an investigative journalist and believes every word you say. She'll introduce you to a competent detective in Nick Valentine, who at first glance looks like one of your mum's toys that you found in a garden after your dog got to it that one time. She can be romanced and has a compelling backstory whereby she has raised this potato, her sister, all on her own, relying on mostly the kindness of the people of Diamond City. She writes her own newspaper called The Public Occurrences, which inconveniences you with having to read. So F tier, she goes to the stockades to hang out with her buddy Nuke Valentine. Let's not pretend she's uncomfortable. Here we can see is a Christmas tree, because at the time of building this, it was that time of year. There's some mute melons here to remind her of where she really should be, out in the fields working the plantation. And she has a water bowl so she doesn't get too thirsty. You know, the Commonwealth conditions can get pretty dry and hot, which I've placed very close to these compressed human remains. Now, when you say you want Piper and Mum says we already have Piper at home, that's Anne Hargraves. Except she's a massive step up in absolutely every department. And you can skip all of her dialogue in the same way that we skip Piper's.
I'm worried about Rex. Those stupid mutants are...
I'm sure he can handle himself.
Instead of writing articles about things that aren't real like Piper does, Anne works at a radio station where they act plays out over the air, and where the 5G tower has turned the nearby settlement into super mutants. When you arrive at the WRVR broadcast station, you learn that one of her other broadcasters, Rex, has gone missing. This leads you on a massive quest into the heart of Boston, which you will ignore because you don't need to do any of that to recruit Anne. You see, she simply doesn't care about the well-being of her peers. She simply wants to move on to bigger and better things, and she shall. When you assign her to a clothing emporium back at your ethical and environmentally friendly settlement, she'll upgrade it to level 4, and even let you buy this sick hat. She has allowed all of us to become very fashionable.
Hey. What's going on?
Nothing I hate more than raider scumbags. If you run into any, put you down for me.
Anything else?
No.
Maybe constantly trying to kill it. What's gotten into you, Blue?
I was gonna give her an A tier, but she charges me for goods from my own settlement that I bankroll myself. So it's a B from me. This is still enough for her to live out her dreams as a seamstress, except it'll be from this shack in the glorious underworld, right in front of where sometimes a settler can be seen in this cage. She sleeps beneath all these antennae, so she can feel the radiation that she has so diligently poured out into the world with her own radio station. And you know your boy Best Guess goes the extra mile every time, so next to her bed I've placed the entire settlement's nuclear power generator. That I love for her be radiation that may spill out over into her dreams and hopefully not permanently destroy her DNA. But you know, she does have her own toilet. This is a pretty big revelation for Bethesda Sanctuary Branch. You see, Bethesda Sanctuary Branch has one toilet. I know, it seems barbaric, but I bet most of you never place toilets in your settlements, you animals. There's no plumbers in the Commonwealth, so I have constructed this elaborate long drop system whereby when you flush, it should just drop directly into the river below, where our waste should just drift downstream where it'll become someone else's problem. How did she get... Oh, Mama Murphy, how did you get there? You know you're not supposed to be underneath the long drop toilet. You're gonna have shit and piss pouring onto you. Let me just... There we go. Good shot. That was a very good shot, Norben. Good shot. Alright, up next, something positive. Dog meat, A tier, he's the best boy. Thick meat, S tier, he's an even bigger best boy. Now, on my way out of town, I had this really unpleasant interaction with one of my followers. Unappreciative of this grand and wondrous little life that I've made for them.
You piece of shit.
But there's someone who is not unappreciative. You see, when I went to Diamond City, I really only went there to blast Piper and then recruit the greatest man the Commonwealth has ever seen, Sheffield.
Hey, you're that vault dweller from the paper.
Now, Sheffield might remind you of that one guy that sits near the entrance of your local Woolies, who makes you nervous when you walk past. The kind of guy that sometimes on Fridays is tweaking so hard, you feel as though law enforcement could tase him and the taser would explode, instantly killing the cop. This is my favorite camera angle, by the way. A man down on his luck, his toes exposed in such a way that if he were on Twitch in the modern day, he'd be both very wealthy and banned. Addicted to Nuka-Cola, this guy is so down on his luck that he has forgotten there is a much more potent Nuka-Cola in the cooler next to him, in the form of a Nuka Cherry. But this man doesn't want no cherry flavor ass. He wants the real thing. He knows what he wants and I respect that. I huff some jet and hand him his Nuka-Cola.
Here you go.
The man is so appreciative that when you offer for him to come to work for you at Bethesda Sanctuary Hills, he can't believe his luck. In fact, it doesn't matter what state you find him in back home. If you see him and he sees you, he will thank you every single time.
Thank you. It's like I can finally think straight.
Todd believed that this would bring us so much joy that every time you interact with him, Normal Plorben McNobby will ask him to work for you again and again, as a way of reliving those emotions on the fly. A quick kick of dopamine, a hit of Nuka-Cola if you will. And he's harmless, in fact he's a hard worker. Let's compare him with someone like Mama Murphy for example. Sheffield is old, maybe even older than her. He works harder. He isn't constantly talking about some hallucinations or something. He isn't reading your star sign or telling you that he needs a chair that he can float just beneath a village long drop toilet, having all of the village's bodily waste spray all over her before landing in the stream, forcing us to ring the bell so she falls out of the chair into this massive cannon that we will then fire so she gets ejected from the settlement over and over again. Oh no. I'll acknowledge his addiction to Nuka-Cola for his willingness to improve and be a better man every day, but my interactions with Mama Murphy must remain strictly passive-aggressive.
The site can help you, kid. It always has answers. Just gotta bring me some jet so I can see what it wants to tell you.
What's jet?
These comparisons are now making me angry. Sheffield gets an S tier. He is now the president of Bethesda Sanctuary Hills. He lives on a plate above in the biggest house. Basically all of the opposite things I would provide for Mama Murphy. He spends his days sleeping on a nice bed with a few Nuka-Colas and some depictions of Nicolas Cage. He has the option of looking over the balcony from this comfortable couch where he may take pleasure in Piper's pain, because I have installed a see-through roof over the prison system, you see, just for Sheffield. But because he's such a nice guy, we normally just find him doing normal, very relatable human things like welding this completely intact shelf thing. It's like I always say, your settlers are only as good as their environment. But sometimes you have to go out looking for the diamond in the rough, the needle in the haystack, the rod up my ass. This takes us to a terrible place called Goodneighbor, a fairly lawless town run by outcasts, which will only respect you if you assert yourself.
Hey, hold up there. First time in Good Neighbor? You can't go walking around without insurance.
Unless it's keep dumb assholes away from me insurance. I'm not interested.
Good neighbors of the people, for the people. You feel me?
Available to the customers is work. It's not all about cooking chems, Claire.
It's not all before you even start. Let's skip to the point. We have room.
Now, the cool thing about mods like this mod here, Crime and Punishment, is that you can assign a hotkey to flipping people off.
You piece of shit.
I have absolutely every other feature of this mod disabled, other than this one, and the joy it brings to flip someone off, and then watch them turn hostile on you, giving you the green light to show them these hands consequence-free, is unimaginable.
You piece of shit.
Burp Norp McBobby loves showing people these hands consequence-free. I'm not sure I know where I'm going with this train of thought, but where I definitely am going is to Hotel Rexford, because within is this testicular monstrosity right here.
200 years, and you're still perfect. How's that possible?
Well, you kill enough people, sooner or later something's bound to make you immortal.
Second name Rep, first name Vault Tech. He is desperate to get into our settlement at Bethesda Hills. So desperate that he allows us to brutalize him. This is very law-friendly of me because supposedly these post-life humans have tough skin and we're simply tenderizing them. It's like what a massage would be for us. We send him to our settlement, return there, see this weird-looking goblin on the roof of one of our houses there, sort it out. And then get back to the Vault Tech Rep. You see, there's absolutely no downside to this guy. The dialogue is good, he'll even upgrade your trading emporium to level 4 so that it sells unique junk items and even a great piece of armor. So this is where he'll sit all day at this stand, right in front of where sometimes Preston can be seen in these shackles. But don't worry, he's not here against his will, he's just here to chill and will often get up to go to bed at night. What a weird guy. You never have to feed the sales rep because he's a ghoul. His constitution was irreversibly changed when the bomb fell all those years ago, such that he accidentally ate a gram of uranium-235, instantly consuming 20 million calories and will never need food again. But much like how sometimes you have many calories and you're still hungry, I decided I'll try to get him to eat something in his home. Alas, I'm not that sure about how many calories are in a bolt of lightning. I'm sure you've noticed he lives under the plate in the slums, even though this man is phenomenal. And that's because he's the sales rep from the start of the game who you told to go away. And he didn't. So you were hoping he would die in a nuclear blast, but he didn't. So now he's here stinking up our underworld, but at least he's making you money while he does. He was going to be put in S tier, so now he's in B tier. Get out of my sight. Let it be known that Burpendorpen doesn't afraid to travel deep into the wastes in order to find even the rarest of companions in this hellhole. Such as here when you travel to Vault 81, behave outwardly hostile to the security guy, then suck up to the overseer who agrees to let you in. All you have to do is behave normal enough and they'll let your irradiated body in through the front door. And you'll have access to one of the most tight-knit communities in all of the Commonwealth. A community that does not want to mix with the outside.
Keeping to yourselves is crazy. There's a whole world you're missing out on.
While the Commonwealth might agree with you, a few here don't.
Eat shit.
So we enter. This weird-looking potato will approach you. You simply have to kick him out of your way because we're not here for him. We're not here for this lady either, but she thinks she's developed a better mute fruit than what you can grow at your settlement. Who we're here for is actually two people. One is this guy called Holt. He's openly hostile towards you because you're an outsider, and he isn't dazzled with my dress. We agree to disagree at this time, but we'll sort him out and get him recruitable later on. For now, we're here to recruit Tina. Tina asked you to help his brother with his jet addiction. So what you have to do is take a massive hit of jet and disagree with her.
I got a better idea. Do it yourself.
You must then turn to her brother Bobby, who wants to buy jet off you. Throw him to the ground, and then agree to sell him the jet. This is actually a very lucrative business opportunity, so if you ever do a Walter White playthrough, this is a quick and easy way to make lots of money as a legitimate chems dealer. Anyways, the next thing we have to do is ask Dr. Pensky about the new mutt fruit she has developed and quiz her on why she wants to change the genetic makeup of an already perfect produce.
Why?
The conversation is a deep and meaningful philosophical battle of words.
Why?
Next, we shove this weird child out of the way, because to unlock Tina and Holt as settlers, we must first speak to Erin Coombs in the classroom to find out about returning her cat to her. To do that, you must talk to her, hit some jet, extort her for everything she's worth.
Look, kid. Pay me what it's worth, or I'm not helping.
Go outside, find the cat, return to the vault and let them know that their cat is found. And they'll let you know that that weird potato we kicked the first time we entered the vault has been bitten by a mole rat and is now suffering from an illness.
You piece of shit.
So, we have to go into the medical bay to find out what we can do to save him. And I broke this quest by totally accidentally hitting the taunt button while they were all talking. Then they just stand there gawking about and doing nothing.
Hello, Dr. Forsyth. Hey, Bobby.
It was really this huge big ordeal. This brings out a massive amount of rage and frustration in me, and also leaves me with absolutely no way of saving Austin to unlock Tina and Holt. So I reload. I grab the mole rat that bit Austin in the other room. Not because I have to, but because I need something to occupy me while we go on this very long escort mission with Bobby to go and find where Austin got bit. This takes a very long time, but at least I'm entertained. So we go in hole, shoot mole rats in hole, happen to find a robot that just has the perfect medicinal cure that heals every ailment known to man, but only has one of them. We return the cure to the doctor, tell him that we're going to give the vaccine to Austin, but we've also been bit by the same mole rats that made him sick. Does that mean we'll also end up bedridden like Austin if we don't treat it? Well, no actually. You see, thanks to Bethesda coding, the good doctor does not know that if you consume the cure right after you tell him you'll hand it over, he's programmed to not know that you have consumed the item, meaning the doctor thinks he has the vaccine and cures Austin anyway, by injecting him with this empty syringe. With air, I guess.
Gee, thanks, mister.
What got into your fool head? Going into a place like that?
There are some things we still have to do to unlock Holt as recruitable settler, and this is the best part. You have to get him kicked out by his family by way of divorce. Now, if there's one thing Bob Nobbler McBob can do, it's home wreck. He simply has to remember the wrecking that Nora would give him every night in their home. The headbutts, it was like someone was slamming a cinder block in his face. The secret to destroying Holt's marriage is to wait until 10 p.m.ish, where we'll meet him and Tina in the vault storage room. You will overhear their conversation and conclude that he is having an affair. But for me, this conversation didn't happen. All I got with this was this otherworldly facial contortion and absolute silence. Look, that wouldn't be the crazy thing that's ever happened, so I go to Holt's wife Alexis to see if the dialogue option is there anyway, but it isn't. You must believe me when I say I tried absolutely everything to get this to work, even so far as standing over them at night, waking them up, and trying to get their daughter involved. Obviously, I googled for hours to no avail, and that's when I found the Australian Bureau of Statistics. You see, according to the ABS, in the 80s, the probability of the marriage ending due to the death of the husband was 48%, and by the end of the 2000s, this had decreased to 45%. Over the same period of time, the probability of a marriage ending due to the death of the wife also decreased, although to a lesser extent, from 21% to 20%. That's when I saw this graph here, showing that the likelihood that a marriage ends in death is 100%.
I'll need more seeds.
A resounding shotgun blast ends their marriage, and Holt is free to join my settlement. To drive the point home, I even show him that the shackles have been broken and he just sits there.
I hope you don't have anything that needs fixing. I really don't feel like working.
Holt gets F'd here, he's completely broken. But with Tina, there's still hope. You see, to recruit her, you have to resolve her brother's jet addiction after you've allowed the doctor to inject air into that one synth, Austin. Now, if you do the moral thing and choose the dialogue option to persuade Bobby to quit the jet, kick him in the penis, and then leg sweep him, you'll go down to the doctor and the quest will be completed. Then next time you speak to Tina, she will tell you the following.
You know, as far as new beginnings go, that sounds pretty good. Count me in.
Oh, right. Like that made any sense.
What?
Hey, Tina.
I never should have gotten him started on Jet.
No, you see, our mistake was persuading Bobby to come clean. Now, I did some research, and what Todd really wants us to do is to go over to Bobby and brutalize him.
You're just a waste of space. I couldn't care less what you do.
That's harsh, man. Really harsh.
It should have been you, not Austin. Fuck you.
Did he? He keeps up each. Jesus Christ. Now, once you recruit Tina, she lacks every single line of dialogue, and I'm 99% sure she's supposed to have lines of dialogue. She has no personality at all. But she has a sick haircut. A tier, Tina will live on the upper floors, in this luxury wooden shack with a great view of the toilet river system. Working electricity, a whole coffee table, and a blood-stained painting of Nicolas Cage. It really is all the things you could want in a Commonwealth wasteland, and even Bobby's here. Say hi, Bobby. Because of a sick haircut, she will be the village hairdresser in such a space that it will be easy and amusing for me to flip her off to the bathtub in the slums below. Now, I want to address some of the settlers that are closer to home. Marcy and June Long. Now, on initial inspection, you might be thinking, wow, there's a clear top and a clear bottom in this relationship. Also, that Marcy complains a lot.
I'm being sarcastic. Leave me alone.
She has over 20 unique lines of dialogue where she is either outwardly aggressive to the player or complaining about things. There's a cool trick to her though. If you simply send her elsewhere, her miscellaneous dialogue will no longer trigger and you will finally have silence. But there's more to the reason why I moved her than that. I send her to Red Rocket to live in isolation for a while. I know what you're thinking. Best guess, that's such a good idea. Perhaps being away from those she talks down on, living alone for a while, will grant her perspective. It will allow her to grow as a person, to return to Sanctuary Bethesda Studios with a newfound appreciation for those around her. After all, absence makes the heart grow fonder. As you sit there in your dark computer room, beating the snot out of her, she can give thanks for the mute fruit plantation you have granted her, the bountiful fields from which she farms in order to survive. She might be sleeping on a sleeping bag in the garage, but it's not the living conditions that'll change her, best guess, but the measure of her introspection and isolation. You look down on her, best guess, because you monitor her progress, because you have a vested interest in her change. And as she works the fields day and night, we think, yes, maybe this'll work. Hang on a minute, best guest, is that an alien blaster? Yes, you're right, my esteemed viewer. About the alien blaster, not about any of that other stuff. If you travel just a little ways southeast from Oberlin Station, you can find the car Mark Zuckerberg crashed on Earth in. If you follow some green goop into this cave, you'll find Mark's good friend Steve. If you show Steve these hands, you'll pick up an alien blaster for all your effort. And a little something else, which is a mod. Now, whenever you fire this gun, the Facebook HQ floating in low Earth orbit will airstrike the planet with the kind of pinpoint accuracy you'd only expect from a social media platform's legal team. I can't stand Marcy Long, F tier. I'd pick a space for her to live, but I think I'd prefer her slumped over the top of this fence for now. Now for the other guy, June Long. He is very sad all the time. I think he's been trying to tell me why, but naturally we ignore him at every single attempt. It is simply the way that I am. But as glum and gloom as old June is, a lot of people prefer him because he is at least somewhat appreciative of the things you do. I thought I had a lot more to say about this, but I do not, so now the sentence is just something to accompany this cool shot of him wandering into the underworld of our settlement. Anyway, I take it upon myself to show him the man he can be, to reignite the fire in his belly, to give him back his killer instinct, if he ever had one. I send him to Red Rocket, where he'll sleep on the floor in a garage, but this time with light. I go softer on our boy June, for even in his sleep, even in his dreams, he is still very sad. To remedy this, I peel Marcy off the floor, whom has fallen from the fence, and place her gently next to him. Remember her, June. Honor her, June. I would be there with him every step of the way, watching him as he wakes up restless in the middle of the night. I've placed some implements to improve settlement happiness, and because it's just him, in theory this will make him happier. Alas, as you can see, his sadness runs deep, deeper than Mama Murphy's chem addiction. But like a lot of you out there, he channels his sadness into gains and hits the gym. But his strength is really, truly pathetic. He is pathetic, but there are some signs of progress. Some nights he tends to the fields, the Miyuti fruit fields, where we bring Marcy along for inspiration. Look at how her head twists all the way around like that. That's absolutely amazing. Some nights he forgoes sleep to defend his land. I give him some extra clothing, status symbols, my hat and my sunglasses, which will make it harder for him to see in the dark. This will help somehow. He defends his land from invaders, slowly gaining his confidence back. Some days are harder than others, as he has to fire in a straight line at the super mutant with a plank, who will stop dead in his tracks, do a Bethesda 90-degree turn left, and then walk in a straight line in that direction, evading all damage. He fights a fly that projectile shoots fecal matter at him, so dangerous, so brave. If there's one thing he doesn't do, it's give up. He is determined to see this through. Day and night, wind and shine, he is always there, with me looking over him, pleased with our progress. I'm so proud of him. D tier, at least he isn't hostile. If there's one thing June taught me, when it comes to self-improvement, we shouldn't be looking at who we are. We should be asking why we are. And I know why Orp Dorp McRobbie exists, and it's to make the best settlement in all of the Commonwealth. To become a creative genius like Todd. But we can't have the best settlement while Diamond City exists. Diamond City with all of its trivial human problems.
You piece of shit.
I can't take over Diamond City, no. That would be too ridiculous. But what if I were to reduce the population of the settlement to lower than the population at my settlement? Then surely that would be enough, right? That's the kind of creative genius Todd has inspired in me. The problem is it would be impossible to do this. If only we had some kind of projectile that we could fire from a focus point at rapid velocity towards these people. So I settle for another idea. You see, flipping these guys the bird broke their AI. Much like that one time I broke the Doctor's AI in Vault 81. So now they just stand here, frozen in time. Their argument is now waged in silence. And this got me thinking, hey, they're all clumped together here and pretty exposed. That's pretty good, right? Another instance of this is when they're all clumped together during the mayor's speech.
As rich shit.
diamonds.
But the crowd soon dispersed after the immense power of flipping the bird, and this renders this particular clump formless. But you know, that's not a huge problem. I've seen that one Metal Gear Solid trailer where he does the thing and the explosions. Really showing my age here, but I'm going to do this again. So I start to place the payloads. My little friends, my nuke valentines. No one here seems to mind, no one cares.
Fuck you.
I retreat as if there's no funny business. I climb the elevator to the mayor's office. This is a great view. And in an instant, I have the largest settlement in the Commonwealth. Thanks for watching and thanks for waiting. It's been a real tough 6 to 8 weeks. This really was really meant to come out for quite a while before Christmas. But you know, here we are. We can't change the past. It's just the way it is. A huge thank you to the patrons. You guys keep me going. You're like the nuke Valentine to my Piper. The doggy water bowl to my incarceration system. Thank you for your support. It really means the world to me. And for the rest of you, please like and subscribe and share the video with some friends if you enjoyed it. Stay safe, honeys. I love you.